I have another kind of original-ish idea for a devil fruit. This time it's another zone. I already did like the rabbit zone. This one's another zone. I made one. I haven't made a video for it, but I had my nephew design a devil fruit, and he designed it after a bat. Which was fun because almost right after we finished it, they came out with the information that Stussy's zone is just like, it's just a regular bat type zone. So that was fun. I might do a video about that. I might not. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. In regards to like the devil fruit that my nephew made, I might. We'll see. But today I'm going to talk about something that has existed, it existed a long time ago, long before bats. It existed long before full-on mammals were a thing, or even buffalo existed. It existed prior to any of the dinosaurs. Just an excuse for me to show off plushies. It existed prior to any of the dinosaurs. Don't eat those. And it kind of looks similar to a saber-toothed cat. Or at least had a similar body-ish structure along with very big fangs. So, today I'm going to be talking about a creature that existed 275 million years ago during the late Permian period. This was during the time when Earth was kind of in the shape of Gondwana. At that point in time, the supercontinent Gondwana. And these creatures kind of were the apex predator. It was also one of the very few points in time when when the ocean was safer to live in than on land. Which is saying something, because like a good chunk of this time frame, a lot of nope was going on. Yeah, there were still some sharks in the water, but they weren't like major. Yeah, they could still be dangerous, but the things on land were far, far worse. I've actually wanted to make a video about this, or make a devil fruit based on this creature for a little while. I stumbled across it kind of by watching a video from, the channel is called ExtinctZoo, and I'll leave a link to the video in this description. Called ExtinctZoo, and it's called The Only Time in History That Water Was Safer Than Land. And the main reason for this is specifically for a specific family of creatures, or a genus of creatures called the Gorgonopsids, or the Gorgonopsia. And specifically the bigger ones. So that is what this video is going to be about, the Gorgonopsia, or specifically kind of the bigger versions of them, the Inostrancevia, which was the largest one that they had. So, Gorgonopsia were they were the largest Gorgonopsia that existed of that species. They were large carnivorous therapsids, meaning that they were like mammal-like reptiles, so they weren't quite mammals in the fact that they weren't, they still like supposedly hatched their young, I think, but they kind of had fur, but they're not quite mammals because I don't know exactly if they're fully warm-blooded, but I would think that they had to be somewhat warm-blooded, but also the environment that they existed in at that point in time would have been pretty warm, so they would have been able to get energy that way, so that's not as much of an issue at that point in time. But they were very mammal-like reptiles, and they, as I said, they lived about 275 million years ago during the Permian. They, prior to the dinosaurs, they existed before the dinosaurs, and really the only thing that ended them was the Permian extinction that then led into the dinosaurs. The evolution of the dinosaurs. So these things were terrifying. Their name, Gorgonopsia, or the Gorgonopsids, is derived from the Gorgons from Greek myths, because of how terrifying the appearance was of the skull when they found one of these skulls. And I think the first skull was found somewhere in South America, I think. And then there was like another section or another branch of the family that was found in like a part of Russia, and there were like other ones in various places around the world. And this is when Gondwana was going on, so this is when like the Earth looked very different. But these things were kind of terrifying, and I think one of my favorite descriptions I saw of them was the naked mole rat from hell is kind of a very good description of what these things look like. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. They kind of do look like the naked mole rat from hell, so I'm not going to argue with that. But they look very freaking threatening is also what they do. As I said, they seem to be semi-similar in design to the saber-toothed cats. In the fact that they have like the very long, saber teeth that come down. They seem to be the first creature to evolve this setup. Later on, saber-tooths would do the same thing. Some other creatures throughout evolution have done similar things, but the Gorgonopsia seemed to be like the first section that seemed the first familia in this to start doing that. I'm probably using those different classifications wrong. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've taken, high school biology. But they developed, and they were these huge things. They were around the size of, they could get up to the size of like large bears, but generally were around like the same size as like tigers. Also, they were very fast because they were, quadrupedal, but they also had long legs, and the way that their legs were designed made it that they could run at very high speeds. Although I don't know if we know the exact high speed that they were capable of. Like the saber-tooths, they had the very long fangs that came down, the saber teeth that came down out of their mouth that were like sharp as a blade because they were serrated. And there's different thoughts about how they would have hunted their prey. Mainly that either they would have done with the saber-tooth method where they like, sneak up on their prey and then like attack them in the neck and like, kill them that way. Or more do of, I guess, like the Komodo dragon tactic where they will get their prey, bite it, inflict a big enough wound, and then just let the prey item get away, and then that will then lead to the prey item suffering from blood loss and exhaustion and pain. And then the Gorgonopsid could come over and just finish it off. Which is similar to what the how Komodo dragons tend to hunt. Because their saliva is very very nasty, and I think I don't remember if it's been proven that they have venom glands, but they're able to like inflict their victims, their whatever they're trying to eat, with enough damage from infection and everything else like that they're then able to hunt them down and finish them off. I want to see a Komodo dragon devil fruit someday too. That sounds freaking awesome. But these things were very large. The Gorgonopsids were very large. Or at least the Inostrancevia, the biggest one was. There were a few other smaller ones that weren't that much smaller, but a little smaller. And then there were like smaller ones of the same family that existed pretty much around the same time frame. And these things ranged pretty much over a good chunk of Gondwana. In their different, sections and everything. So they were very much the dominant predator here. And they lived up to their name. Yeah, I stumbled across these things by accident when I was just watching. I went down a archaeological or a paleontology rabbit hole on YouTube, and I'm just like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's that? That thing looks scary. I don't know what that is. In regards to, finding these things. And as I said, I'll leave the video in the description so you can go and watch the video, because ExtinctZoo does a much better explanation as to like the full breakdown of these things than I can. But I still wanted to talk about it in regards to it being a devil fruit. Obviously, it would fall into the ancient Zoan category in the fact that it is from an extinct creature. I kind of went with the Therio-Therio Fruit, or the Therio-Therio no Mi, mostly because of the fact of I was trying to figure out like how this thing would be translated into Japanese for like how that would fall, because like the dinosaurs fall under the Ryu no Mi because in Japan and in Japanese, dinosaur and dragon are the same setup. even though Kaido's a fish, but you get the idea, because of the koi turning into the dragon myth. But the rest of the, king, queen, ulti, page one, Sasaki, Drake, all of them have, the ancient zones that are the dinosaur type zones. So they're the Ryu-Ryonomi model Pachycephalosaurus or Allosaurus or, Bronchiosaurus, Triceratops, Pterodactyl, take your pick. Pterosaur. Spinosaurus in the case of page one. Spinosauruses are terrifying anyway. Not that any dinosaur you run into wouldn't be terrifying. Although I guess there are some that are like, I can punt you, but that doesn't mean that I want to, because there might be more of you if you're small enough and I might get attacked anyway. Or I might piss you off and your parent might show up and attack me anyway. So I don't want that either way. But they're all classified as like the Ryu-Ryonomis, which we don't know what any of them look like yet. Maybe we'll get those soon. On that note, we did get some of the images in the latest, I think, One Piece magazine. They had a release of what two other devil fruits look like, and those would be the Hobby no Mi that I've now made, Sugar's devil fruit, and the Nui no Mi, the Stitch fruit. That is Leo's fruit. I made these yesterday. I need to get tags on them and then get them sent off to tacking along with the ones that I'll be keeping. And I also made a devil fruit for this thing because I like to make physical versions of what some of the devil fruits will look like. And I made this. Obviously, it's not fruit shaped. It's not round. It's based off of the fact that, this is one of the first type of things that had like a saber-tooth setup with it, and then I gave the stem little like saber-tooth like setups up here. These things' fangs, overall, their saber teeth fully were about 10 to 12 inches in length, depending on the size of the individual, and then about 5 to 6 inches of it were what was hanging out of its mouth. Or at least that's the scientist's best guess for the way that would have looked. But in regards to that, so, and I'm not going to be surprised if, like, later on, if, like, Who's Devil Fruit ends up looking kind of similar to that, but it may also just have 2 fangs hanging down at whatever point in time we get what that one looks like. And on the note of Who's Who, as I said, this thing was built very similarly to a saber-toothed cat, and in the regards that it is a carnivore, it obviously would qualify as a carnivorous zone, very similar to Lucci and Jabra, and Who's Who as well. And in that regard, it probably could pull off things fairly similar to what we see Who's Who pull off. Now, when we see Who's Who fight Jinbei, he is implementing techniques that he knows as part of the CP9 training, CP0 training that he went through. Well, CP9, not CP0, with the, what are they called? The 6 powers with those things. That, that Lucci was the master of, and that, like, Who's Who kind of mastered as well. But in that regard, they would be able to fight similarly to that, as in, like, hockey up their fangs, their teeth, hockey up their claws the way that he did. Hopefully they would fight smarter than Who's Who did, and the fact of Who's Who tried to fight against Jinbei, who has probably had a lot more experience in fighting, I think, than Who's Who has. Also, you're insulting him at the same time that you're trying to ask him questions. So yeah, you're not doing good there, Who's Who, in that regard for that fight. But in regards to, like, and the hybrid form of this thing would look, kind of similar to the way that the hybrid form would look for, Lucci or for, Who's Who, mostly because of the fact, except for the fact that these, the Gorgonopsias, we don't know 100% if they had fur, and if they did, we don't know if it was, like, fur covering their entire bodies, because, like, hair and fur had already evolved at this point in time. It's just, it didn't end up, it wasn't only associated with like mammals or like proto-mammals at that point in time. Nowadays, fur is very much associated with mammals because we have fur, we are mammals, dogs, cats, so many other types of things are mammals, and they have fur or hair to some degree. You know, elephants have hair to some degree. I know that whales and dolphins are mammals, but I don't 100% remember if they have hair of some kind. I think they do, but I don't remember. It's not like a very obvious thing, or it may have just been that's one of the setups that like it evolved out of it, kind of like how echidnas and platypuses are mammals, but they lay eggs instead of giving live birth like most other mammals do. That type of thing. And like a bunch of the different art that I'm going to throw up during this video, if there was an artist tag with it, I made sure that that was very visible, or I put the artist's name on it. Other ones were just like, this is stuff that's in textbooks, or stuff that was from Wikipedia, or stuff that was from like shows that talked about these things. So if I missed something in here for one of the artworks, I'm sorry, but they're kind of hard to find because like these things aren't as well known as like stuff for like the saber-toothed tiger, or for, you know, dinosaurs or stuff like that, like other creatures from the Ice Age or from the Jurassic and everything else. This thing, Gorgonopsids, would have been very interesting to see running around Jurassic Park. Those would have been interesting. I don't know if I put my money on these things or the velociraptors. Depends on how genetically modified they are. But I wanted to make a video about these things in regards to them being a devil fruit. Now, there was a post that I found on Reddit, I think, that was talking about, like, what if, you know, Oda did make this into a devil fruit. And there wasn't a whole lot there, but it was just, like, someone asking, like, what it would be called. And I'm just like, I really couldn't find anything that would qualify, because it's not a dinosaur, because it, you know, existed prior to the dinosaurs. Although if these things had survived into the dinosaurs, it would have been interesting to see how they would have interacted with them. But like these things becoming extinct because of the Permian extinction, what leads into the evolution of the dinosaurs. So, and the Permian extinction was like the biggest mass extinction that happened, because basically what happened was the world said no. And like huge volcanic pits in parts of Russia that ended up becoming something later on just exploded at the same time, which would have released tons and tons and tons of toxic gas into the air along with, you know, lava and magma all over the place and earthquakes all over the place. And the seas kind of would have boiled, which killed a lot of life in the seas at the end of the Permian. And then there's like a whole bunch of other ones that die out here. And then it's just like, okay, well, it's like sound off who's not dead, and then who evolves from that is like how we ended up getting the dinosaurs in very, very layman's terms at that point in time. To be fair to any like, middle-aged or, you know, from the Middle Ages or whatever, or prior to that, for depending on, you know, all the different places where these things were found. If I stumbled across one of these things in the ground and didn't know what a fossil was, I would be like, well, I certainly don't want to meet what the heck this thing is related to, so I'm gonna leave now. It's like giant teeth. Yeah, no, I don't need these. Although admittedly a blade made out of one of these things, or like a dagger more than a blade, would be kind of interesting. As I said, they had serrated teeth, so that meant that their teeth were made for like cutting into things the way that like a knife is. They were very fast, and they had, you know, huge paws, or like, you know, kind of paws, like pseudo paws. Well, I guess paws, or their feet, were very, very large, and they had large claws there, so that just made them even, you know, more dangerous depending on what they were going after. Also, a lot of their food sources were kind of armored, so they had to be able to get past the armor to get to the food inside, to, you know, take out their prey and then eat it. So that's something. I mean, like, I would think it would be cool if we had, like, a giant show up with one of these devil fruits. I don't think this is ever gonna become a devil fruit in the story unless Oda is just like, let's see, what weird creature can I pull out of my back pocket and see what I can make out of it? Weird things that existed before the dinosaurs. Carnivores. I'm gonna go with that thing. Just like finds Gorgonopsia and is just like, ooh, I like that. I'm gonna go with that. Which, to be fair, Oda could very well do this. He could very well do this. That is quite possible. Unlikely, but possible. Unlikely, but possible. But, like, so that would be kind of fun to see what happened there. If you ever did that. A giant having this would be freaking terrifying, turning into one of these things. Like, just imagine, like, Ripley in Elbath, like, turning into one of these things as, like, a hybrid or something like that. And you're just like, well, I'm dead. Sanji would just be like, take me. I love you, Sanji, but sometimes I don't like you. Sometimes I want to punt you. Or, like, even it doesn't have to be a giant having one of these things. Even someone else, like, having one of these like a devil fruit to turn into one of these things would be freaking terrifying. I don't think that's going to happen, although it would be kind of interesting. I mean, like, I know that we just had a bunch of ancient zones in Wano with the Tobi-Roppo and with the, the calamities and everything there. Which were fine. I enjoyed them. They're a very interesting way of, showing off these types of ancient zones and everything. And I learned about a spider that I don't like in regards to Black Maria's Rosamagalia gravagelli. I don't want one of those. But in regards to, like, I don't know, it would be interesting. Like, Elbath would be one of the islands where I would be okay with them having some more ancient zones. Just maybe not dinosaurs or creatures from the Ice Age, since we've kind of done those with the Tobi-Roppo and the calamities and everything. It would be nice to have something that's like, it's an ancient zone, but it's not a dinosaur. It's something that's a little more less known. And, like, that being on Elbath would be kind of interesting. And it doesn't have to be, like, Ripley that has it. It could be someone else that has like an ancient zone type of a devil fruit that's a dinosaur or something, or that's like an ancient zone. Because there were other things that existed around the same time frame that this thing did that were still quite threatening, or in the case of like the herbivores, were still very well armored and everything else like that. But like finding some other stuff that were like around prior to the Ice Age but not dinosaurs, or like prior to the dinosaurs, as like some other ancient zones that are a little bit less known, would be kind of a fun thing to do. I think it would technically fall into the Ice Age, but I know that there's like a giant ancient buffalo that used to exist. That would be fun. Giant ancient bison that used to exist. We have a model of one at Moral Hall here in Lincoln. If I have a picture of it, I'll throw it up in here. But like it would be very interesting to see Oda try to pull something else like that out of his back pocket and pop one of these in here or something similar to it, and I could go like, ha 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 ha, I know what that thing is. I know what that thing is. So that would be interesting. I would not want to run into any of these things anywhere because I would be dead very quickly. So there's that. Also, like, if I ever did run into any of these types of things, I am not a fighter, and I would be like, depending on who the heck's with me, I'd be like, okay, you guys run, I'll put myself in its line of vision and it can eat me and you guys can get away faster because I know I'm not going to be able to outrun this thing and I'm sure it will kill me very quickly anyway, would be my answer to it. Unless I'm in like Iron Man armor or something like that, which is very unlikely, because I'm not Tony Stark or Riri Williams, or insert whoever else has had Iron Man armor throughout the course of the series, course of Marvel history. which is a good chunk of characters, actually, because Spider-Man has some Iron Man armor, but I'm getting off topic again, which is something I do a lot. But yeah, I wanted to make a video about these. They seem like an interesting thing that would make a fun devil fruit as an ancient zone, because we've gotten several of them, but we don't know what any of them look like yet. Oda hasn't revealed that yet. That would have been like, you know, an interesting thing to reveal when he explained like page 1 and Ulti's backstory and everything. Is like draw out what their devil fruits looked like. But yeah, we just got some of the ones from Dressrosa, although there's a few other ones that we still have to get from Dressrosa. Like, we don't know what Giola's looks like. We don't know what Monette's looks like, or what Caesar's looks like. Yes, those are from Punk Hazard, but you get the idea. We only just now got, you know, the, 10 years something after Dressrosa happened anyway. We've got the, Sugar's devil fruit and Leo's devil fruit, but there's still other devil fruits, like, Mossherry's devil fruit that we don't know what it looks like yet. So we'll have to wait and see. We got other devil fruits coming down the line, I'm sure. And I do want to make a Pawpaw. I mean, we know what the Kuma's devil fruit. I want to make one of those, but we don't know what the color is yet, or what the colors look like yet. We know what the shape is with, the paw part, which is fine. But I like to know what colors I need to use in order to make it first. Which hopefully we'll be getting in the anime, which, we'll get the anime back in April. And then from there, a little ways into that should be when we get Bonnie's flashback. And then, partway into that is when we'll get Bonnie's flashback. And then that'll give us, Bonnie and Kuma's flashback. And that'll give us what the, Pawpaw fruit looks like, and then I'll work on making it. And getting that taken care of. But that's not going to happen until I actually get the colors for it, because we haven't seen even like the digital colored version of the manga. They're not even that far in it yet. But yeah, so this thing is what I think this thing's devil fruit would look like. You may argue with that, but that's what I made it look like. As I said, this thing would be terrifying if it existed as a devil fruit. Not that the other ancient zones we've seen aren't terrifying in their own right, but that's what we got. I thank you very much for watching. I have no idea when I'm going to have another original devil fruit idea video. I want to do something where I go through some of these books that I have that are about prehistoric mammals and some other interesting dinosaurs, and find some other ones in there. I also just want to see if I can find some interesting mythical zones that could be an interesting ones to have in the story. I want to find like a butterfly type of mythical zone, because I love butterflies, and I want to I want to find like a butterfly type of mythical zone that is not just like little tiny butterfly. That's like, it's a badass butterfly somehow, which is not something that you find that often. So I kind of want to try to find something like that. And no, I'm not talking about like Mothra from Godzilla. Not that Mothra isn't cool, but I would like something else a little bit, elegant or something like that. Some other butterfly or fairy type thing that is associated with a butterfly that is like really powerful or something. I don't know. I might look into that and see if I find something, and then I'll make that devil fruit. But that's what I have for this. So I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye!